What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchet REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction. Super excited about this video, guys. If you're new to us and we're new to you, make sure you scroll down, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 100K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, all right? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
To be black in Brazil, which is the second largest country by the number of black people, is a challenge.
Brazil imported more slaves from Africa than any other country.
More than 4 million African slaves were brought to Brazil between the 16th and the 19th centuries.
Brazil was one of the last countries in the world to abolish slavery in 1888.
There are several things that make our racism specific. No less brutal, no less cruel, but it's specific to the Brazilian context. One of the first things is that we had this myth that the birth of the nation was composed of several races, and because of the diversity of people here, we would actually live in a racial democracy where everyone has a place in it. And because of this multiracial aspect of our society, we don't necessarily consider the ancestry of people in Brazil when defining their race.
A lot of people don't see themselves as black, as part of a discriminated group, as part of the group that for almost 4 centuries were working as slaves here in Brazil.
Eu me descobri negra em 2015. Eu estava às vésperas de completar 27 anos, 26 para 27 anos. A nossa história, né, os livros não contam. Eu comecei a buscar por autoras tanto contemporâneas quanto autoras já mais antigas, né, Lélia Gonzalez, né.
Isso é uma prova patente, né, desse racismo não assumido existente na sociedade brasileira, né, do racismo que eu chamo de racismo por denegação, né?
It was harder to have a black identity with all the whiteness around you and you had no positive reference of blackness. It's not that those references didn't exist. They did, but they were erased. How could...
Let's speak on that. Okay, so being that in Brazil, you guys have more black people there than what we have here in the United States.
Y'all,
so
big group, big group.
To hear that y'all still feel that, wait, no, not still feel. What did they just say? It was hard to, I forgot what it said, but it said something about.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back. So the girl said that she didn't realize she was black until she was 27 years old.
Wow. And, you know, in a way, that's a good thing. Because I remember we were reacting to a video and a woman, it was her first time traveling abroad. And it was her first time being called just an American. Because here, you know, we're not just American. We're African American. Whatever you are, your race, and then American. So in a way, I feel that's a good thing. But also in places like Brazil where that is not a thing, they're just Brazilian, I would feel a sense of
lack of identity, if you ask me.
Lack of identity, but also, like, it's pros and cons to it. You know, of course I would love to just be looked at in my own country as just an American, but at the same time, I appreciate the lineage that I come from. I come from strong people who persevered, obviously, because I'm still here, right? Because some of our people back then didn't make it, so their lineage did not carry on.
Right.
So that's hard to hear. That, dang it, I just forgot what she said. You got to go back because it was something she said.
I'm gonna go back 20.
Oh, there.
Yeah, and there's another thing is that she was basically also saying that it's hard to be. Well, she discovered she was black around 27, also because she was surrounded by such white, you know what I'm saying, like a white environment.
Right, and that's the point I want to make, but
right,
I want to say it how she said it.
All right.
Isso é uma prova patente, né, desse racismo não assumido existente na sociedade brasileira, né, do racismo que eu chamo de racismo por denegação, né?
It was harder to have a black identity with.
It was harder to have a black identity
with all the whiteness around you, and then also to be you know, told about your history and your culture, and it's so negative.
Yeah, and it's
And
so
then
negative.
when there's such a highlighted person that came from your cultures or our culture, they're erased.
Right.
So that is definitely challenging.
Definitely.
100%. That ain't. I don't, man.
It's
Hey.
like we uncovering different things back to back to back with these
Yo,
requests, and I'm like,
it gets crazy, bro.
yeah,
Man.
like,
It's okay to put yourself in other people's shoes, though. Because
yes,
you got to
it
realize
is.
that life ain't just, you're not centered. You're like, your world isn't just about you. When you're placed here, blessings, like, and I got to say it, when people pray for a blessing, you may be their blessing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You may be the person that come through and give them light or shed help or hope on them. And, you know, you might break the barrier that they gone through, break the chain they may have mentally. So it's like you can't be centered and say that, oh, this is just that over there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
and that's why I find it so interesting, because comparing the populations between the U.S. and Brazil, we are a minority here. They still feel that they're a minority there, but we are aware of our blackness. There's not a day that we're not aware. Okay. So that is why it's important to have people like that author there to, you know, just show them their past and who they are. Now, I'm not familiar with the author, but just judging on what she said, that's what we would call a strong black woman. Right? So it's interesting, and I would love to hear you guys' personal stories about this.
yeah.
All the whiteness around you, and you had no positive reference of blackness. It's not that those references didn't exist. They did, but they were erased. How could you want to be someone who's going to be erased?
The black movement in Brazil started when black people ran away from slavery. Quilombos were the first black organizations in Brazil.
Over the years, thousands of slaves who escaped their masters established so-called Quilombo communities. The biggest and best known of them was the Quilombo dos Palmares, led by Zumbi dos Palmares.
There was a very specific dynamic during slavery, which was the establishment of a free black population with personalities like André Rebouças, who fought to have their voices heard even before abolition. To silence this black narrative was a very clear and powerful project.
There were no racially oriented policies in Brazil, such as in South Africa's apartheid or the Jim Crow laws in the United States. But even though we didn't have such policies, Brazil created a lot of obstacles that prevented black people from accessing lands, the labor market, and education. For more than 100 years, people who didn't know how to read or write could not vote. And who were these people? Mostly black people.
Meu avô, por parte de pai, chegou no Brasil no navio negreiro, ele tinha 5 anos. E a questão racial na minha família nunca foi muito discutida. Eu comecei a me descobrir negra quando eu fui para a faculdade.
Okay, let's talk about
this?
that.
I'm starting to realize I was black thing.
Right.
What is this? Like, that's some like deep rooted misinterpretation and understanding about yourself. Or is that something else that we don't know? Like, because I'm confused.
Well, they erased a lot of their history.
So they was just floating around, like going to work. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe they tried to just, you know how they always say, get over it. Maybe it was something like that. We don't know. We're just
trying to piece it together because we got off a video. You know what I'm saying? This is our first time, you know, diving into on this level.
So as we uncover things that's happening in the diaspora, I never understood why the focus when it came to us connecting to our roots was always Africans versus African Americans at the forefront. I felt like the Caribbeans were able to hold more to the African culture than we were here in the United States. But now it's making me look at this in a new light at Brazil. Like theirs were erased. Mm-hmm. And we also hear that in some places in the Caribbean, they didn't talk about it much in school. Oh my God. That's why videos like this are important. People who know the history and know the culture of each place is important. That's how we begin to, what's in the video? Connect the branches and the roots. You know, some of this stuff be hard to hear.
So we can bear fruit, so people can, feast off this knowledge and this information. You have to be like, you gotta put yourself in their shoes and just like, and that's why I'm silent, because I'm lost for words. Like, I can't even imagine that, being the age that I'm at today, and I just discovered I'm black.
Right.
What? That is hard, bro. Like, that's hard. Like,
but a lot of times, it will take for you to leave your home, go to college, and that's why you start learning stuff that some of the stuff you be learning you shouldn't be learning. But that's what it takes sometimes to uncover the truth about your life.
Yeah, we all have a timeline. We just gotta piece it together. For real, for real.
As experiências que eu tive antes com preconceito, com uma série de coisas, eu entendia como preconceito de classe. A minha identidade era da morena, eu era mulata.
In Brazil, the term pardo translates to brown or mixed race with African ancestry. It refers to the mix between black and white people or black and indigenous people. In the country's first census in 1872, brown people were among both the free and the enslaved population. It's important to highlight the fact that a part of them were also enslaved along with black people. In the 1940 census, the immigration process played a big role.
They brought people from Europe to Brazil to work in the industrialization process. But these people also helped whitewash the society, because people in power believed that there were a lot of black people here and it was necessary to make the society whiter.
Again. I think I said this in the last video. It's crazy how people can, want to enslave a group of people, try to, erase a group of people. And the next morning you wake up and realize that the whole world, basically the continent or country that you're in, is overpopulated by those groups of people.
Right.
It's like a slap in the face. A big one. It's like every time you look out the window.
Some of this stuff is like, it's mind-blowing.
It is, man. It's sad. It's sad, bro. Like, I wish I had all the words for this type of content, because this is just...
What were y'all taught in school about slavery, what happened after slavery, where y'all were brought from? Like, were y'all taught where y'all were brought from?
What was the shift in the mindset when you discovered that you was black?
Right.
Like, and did you have to deal with the same issues at hand when being a mixed or a brown person when you discovered?
They thought it was a class issue.
Just a class issue then.
Yeah. Now, see, here in the United States, we know certain things are a racist issue, a systemic racism issue, and other things are class issues, and we're able to decipher the two.
100%.
Real
quick.
We don't live in the hood no more. So we don't deal with as much racism. Like, I'm speaking our personal experiences as we used to. Now it's more of like a class issue. Yeah, but at the end of the day, we came in a position to be able to identify whatever it is that's happening out here in America. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the upbringing of that. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? We didn't have to necessarily say, at one point of our life, this is who we identify as. Right. We just always knew it was black, black. African American. Black, just the black.
In the 1940s onwards, there was a solid growth of the brown population as a result of miscegenation, the racial mixing. The concept of racial democracy was developed in a way that highlights the idea of harmonious coexistence between races in Brazil. That's different. Oh, Lord, that flag. Nah, that's crazy to me that they had to bring white people down to whitewash communities. That's different. Like, you really, like, I can't fathom the mindset, bro, of an individual who can make a call like that and say, we got too many black people. We need more of y'all out here. Like, send the buses. It's sad. That is very sad. It's like just realizing what our people went through across the globe. It's sad. Man. We're talking about the 1940s, when the world was experiencing World War II and Nazism, and Brazil had a mixed population with racial conflicts that were not disclosed as in countries such as the USA and South Africa.
As in most countries of South America, the color of one's skin does not always determine one's social standing. As a matter of fact, the racial color line seems to be so thinly drawn here that it has become a haven of toleration for all races.
After the war, Brazil became a laboratory for the world when a UNESCO project decided to analyze racial relations in the country. And that's when our supposed racial democracy is debunked. Those studies put a spotlight on the existence of discrimination based on race in Brazil.
Isto que é designado por aí como democracia racial tem sido, através da história, apenas a sistemática exclusão do africano e seus descendentes de todos os níveis de poder e de decisão neste país.
Several black movements, such as Frente Negra and later on the Unified Black Movement, managed to take to the streets even during dictatorship because of their willingness to denounce the myth of racial democracy, which was one of the bases of dictatorship in Brazil.
So in the process of trying to unite the people, draw a thin line of racism, you know what I'm saying, and have people unify, I feel like at the same time, people were still not being told the truth.
Well, now they are.
So this is the process of being told the truth.
The world is looking now.
And that's why it's important, you know? That's why it's important.
The beginning of democracy after 1985, there were also big protests in Brazil.
To choose Zumbi dos Palmares as the symbol of freedom was very important for us black people, because the history taught in schools was that Princess Isabel was the one responsible for making black people free.
We managed to get a lot of improvements out of these mobilizations. First of all,
so they used the savior tactic. Wow. I love that they called it Black Awareness Day. That speaks volumes. Like, I really, really want to hear y'all personal stories of this, because, like, this is like a foreign concept to me. You know, like, from as young as I can remember, I knew who I was. I knew the struggles of my people.
I think, I'm sorry, go ahead, man.
And to know that there were people who didn't know the strength in their genes until they were adults.
Yeah, and that's all I want to say. I feel like the stretch from slavery was pulled, you know what I'm saying? The condition of it was pulled all the way to the 2000s, to the however far it may have been impacted for, you know what I'm saying? And that's the problem, that they was able to hold that idea over their head for so long. And it wasn't even in that there wasn't even in that like living space no more. You guys are actually in a space where you could have thrived, but the mindset was just still tampered with.
Right. Like, in a way, I get it. Y'all are just Brazilian. But don't deprive people of knowing who they come from and who they are. This is just a location. Yes, born, raised, bred here. But they need to know the strength in their genes. Like, our hero was Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner, and more people.
Much more.
W.E. Du Bois, like, more people. We looked up to those people. You know? Whew.
I feel like everybody have a right to know who they are, where they come from, and you can't hide that information from them. Like, because you would want to know.
Child, they did.
I know, but they have the right to know, and I don't think that's fair, because at the end of the day, when one get to go home and lay down and know his fathers and his dad and mother, you know, that's his history. That's what they went through. That's how they moved. But to stop everyone else from knowing that, what is the benefit of that? Like, why not let them understand who they are?
Right. So, this thought just came up in my head. Do you all still have the plantations around, things of the past around, like the slave quarters and all of that, because we still have those things, and it is good for us to go there. Now, some people be having weddings, and I don't agree with that, because how you gonna have a wedding over there? Anyway.
Y'all heard her accent come out, bro. This is what I be telling y'all about right now.
Yeah.
That accent came out.
But it is good to, like, go there, see, you know, the things of the past, and learn from that history. Learn from the history. Don't go have a celebration while people was whipped and beaten and, you know.
Lord, this is different.
We managed to include racism as a crime in the 1988 Constitution.
Viva a raça negra do nosso país.
Okay. All right, President.
As well as to include the protection of quilombolas, who are former slaves' descendants. Later on, under Fernando Henrique Cardoso, Lula, and Dilma administrations, we managed to have several policies in favor of black people, especially during Lula's term. The Secretariat for Racial Equality was established. Several universities established affirmative actions based on race.
I like it.
Self-identification, looking at oneself and thinking about whether you're a black person or not, is very much a political act. It's a way to understand the context, your ancestry, and to see your place in history and the way people look at you. So, those policies that target specifically race, not only class, not only gender, but also race as one of the key components of hierarchies in Brazil, they made a lot of people recognize the role of race in their own lives.
Between 2000 and 2010, the black population grew at a higher rate than the total population. We cannot oversimplify the understanding of this process, but part of this growth involved a change in self-identification. Many studies show that brown and black populations have pretty similar socioeconomic characteristics, which widely differ from those of white people.
Bro, because, I mean, that's simple right there. You know what I'm saying? When you start to identify, you start to unify. But as long as you stay stuck in the mindset, you stay separated.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. I feel like they start to unify. You know what I'm saying? They start to build families again. They start to have pride in who they was again.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of, you know, the community was missing out on. That's what they was missing out on.
It seems that they reached a place of equity. Equality is not enough if you don't have equity. And that's what it seems as I'm looking at this chart and I'm seeing, you know, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's a little different. But, yeah. That's all I got to say about that.
The black movement considered it politically important not to separate those two groups, otherwise we can't properly elaborate policies to address racial inequalities in the country.
We start in Brazil, where a teenager has died after he was smothered and suffocated. The incident has incited widespread outrage and spurs comparison to the Eric Garner police killing.
This is the woman whose killing has provoked such outrage, Marielle Franco. The 38-year-old counsellor has become a voice for gay and black rights.
And I just want to let y'all know that didn't hit our news.
No, but it's making me think of similar stories.
And same thing, but it didn't hit our news. And ain't no light was shed on that. Not over here. That's wild.
Fighting against police violence in poor areas of the city.
The attack was the latest blow in what they see as an undeclared war against poor, mostly black people living in favelas. At least 50 shots hit the car where the youth were traveling.
50. Agatha was killed by a police bullet last September. She was 8.
Racism is at the very core of police brutality and the ideology that allows it to happen. On a daily basis, we see that black people are subject to a much larger level of police violence than white people. 75% of people killed by the police last year in Brazil were black, in a population where 56% of people are black.
Now, under the Bolsonaro administration, we are facing several challenges. Bolsonaro used this slogan, "My color is Brazil," as a way to reinforce this idea of racial democracy. He says the black movements are creating racism when they talk about
No
racism.
Brasil é coisa rara o racismo. Tenta o tempo todo jogar negro contra branco.
The Black Coalition for Rights, a new movement that connects several black groups in Brazil, was established after the election of Bolsonaro. They recently released a manifesto saying that with racism, there is no democracy. Nowadays, black people are looking at their ancestry with pride. There is a movement connected with the idea of understanding your racial background and looking at the references related to your ancestor, such as the candomblé, ubanda, also the way you use your hair, your clothes.
Era até um certo trauma de infância, né? Porque eu sempre fui obrigado a cortar o cabelo mensalmente ou 2 vezes no mês, né? Então eu só fui descobrir como era o meu cabelo de verdade com 18 anos.
He didn't even know how his hair looked until he was 18.
Yo, we have so many, like...
I thought it was going up. But then I saw that chart and I'm like, hold up. Like, nobody making this up. And if you don't have movements that be a voice for the voiceless or bringing all of our voices together to sound louder to create change, change will not happen.
To identify who you are is to unify.
It's very exciting and important to see that people are very much involved in the fight against racism, especially young people. Amid the bad things that are happening in politics and economics and the pandemics, there is a counter-strike of power that is led by black people in Brazil, and I think that's a very important thing to recognize as well.
Oh, that's the end of it. All right, man.
I was hopeful, and then it's like, dang it.
Well, just when you thought you had it bad.
Right.
That's always a mirror image, time 10 with more cracks in it.
Right. But I have heard of a lot of good coming out of Brazil and the black community in Brazil. So, of course, we can watch a video, but a video does not tell the whole story.
No.
So we want to hear from your mouth.
Yeah.
Tragic. What?
I was going to say very tragic, but because people can always piece together a lot of things and make a storyline out of it and just paint a bad image.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's not the reality 100% because there's always a
Right.
flip side to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People are doing good. People
Right.
are evolving. People are moving forward. So.
Right. And y'all can bring us up to speed. What is life like
Mhm.
for you?
Mhm.
What's your culture? What are some positives about your culture, your people, that you would like us to cover and learn about? This was hard. This was difficult.
These are one of the ones. And again, I feel like I'm trying to get into these little news categories.
Yeah, y'all trying to make us a news channel. Yeah, but
boy.
yeah, we would love to learn the positives.
Yeah, with a
You
smile,
know?
man. With a smile.
So we hope you guys enjoyed this video with us. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like support the channel that way, as well as our reaction request form is in our description box below. We'll see you soon.
Peace.